Good evening, Gals and Ghouls, and welcome back to another episode of Cryptic Insight. My name is Cedric. This is my girlfriend Jessica. And today is our episode on Halloween 2018, directed by David Gordon Green. And, we'll get right into it. This movie, I guess one thing that stands out to me as we were watching it tonight, and one way I can summarize it, is that it it went by so fast. Watching this movie, it just feels like time goes by so fast. I feel like it just flies on by. It's so much fun. It's so good. Um, some of the positives. We'll go into the positives. Is overall, I would have to say that some people I could see using this as a negative or a critique, which I can understand. But to me, as a fan, I really like how much they played some of the parts of the film for the fans, the homages, the cameos, the Easter eggs. Um,
Very well done in that way.
yes, I think even though we have the original one, it has all those things in it, and it has a lot of the things that we love about it that are in 2018. I still think with the technology that they have and how modern it was, I think it was really well done. I think it gets fans like me really giddy when Michael sits up, straight back and just sits up towards the end of the film, or the head tilts, or all kinds of Easter eggs.
The long shot.
The long shot, the one take. Um, Mrs. Elrod from Halloween 2 in the kitchen. Dave being pinned against the wall like Bob was. There's a lot. The Halloween 3 masks from Season of the Witch are, in the street section when Laurie first meets Michael. And then, of course, as Halloween fan, if you're a big diehard Halloween fan, you'd know this, but I think average horror fans probably wouldn't know this. But when Michael does the head tilt when he first sees Laurie in the street, that's Nick Castle from the original Halloween. That's his one scene in the film. And so, overall, just the homages. It felt like fans made this film for the fans. And so, I think that's my biggest positive for this film is that it captures the magic of Halloween, of Michael Myers, of Laurie Strode, of 78. It feels like a natural extension of that movie, but it's modern.
Yeah. I definitely feel the same way. I feel like they didn't have to try so hard like some of the other films did to make it fit in. When they stuck with the original, they based it off of that. It goes really smooth. I love them talking about the traumas Laurie's been through and them focusing on that in the film. I love definitely the movie gives you like goosebumps because it reminds you of the original film. And something that we also talked about a little bit is the character development and how almost every single character makes you like them or is not just there to be killed, in a way. Like some of the other sequels, they had the people that were there to just be assholes. So you're like, oh, can't wait to see them die. And so the character development in this film was amazing. Like you liked all the friends. I loved the little kid.
Julian.
Yeah.
Julian's a great part.
Yeah. And so
I
like
wouldn't be up clipping my nasty ass toenails.
if I had a good babysitter. No. But no, it's the character development and it made you feel for them when they died.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, we were talking, we like Vicky, and it's like, you don't know how fans are going to react to a character when you're making the film, so, you don't know how they're going to feel when you kill them off, but, Vicky could have easily been a great character throughout the rest of this trilogy, or at least for another film if you wanted to, but, it's a slasher film, people are going to die, but, yeah, and then, like, even Cameron, you're like, okay, well, I don't really know how to feel about Cameron, he's a jerk, but he seems to really care about people. I mean, he gives off weird vibes.
Yeah, and when you're a teenager, you make stupid mistakes all the time.
All the time. And so, and then Oscar being weird and cringy after being drunk all night, and then Officer Hawkins, who is a new character in this, and they make it really feel a bit natural that he was in it. I know that a lot of people criticize some of the dialogue in this trilogy because it feels force-fed and it feels like it's explaining rather than just doing it through the film itself. I can understand that. And sometimes does it stand out to me? Yes, a little bit it does. But I think introducing a character like Hawkins, who is so pivotal to the trilogy, being there at the original night, apprehending Michael, I mean, that goes more into Halloween Kills, or it becomes more clear as to why he's important in Halloween Kills, but still it sets us up, and he's a wonderful character. I love Hawkins. I can't remember the actor's name off the top of my head right now, but he's a really good actor too. He's just a great actor.
Yeah, and I don't think it took away from the movie. Like, sure, when you watch it a bunch of times, obviously, like we do, you pick out things. But
Right.
I don't think it really took away from the film. It's kind of like in the original when they're talking about the stuff that got stolen at was it a convenience store that was broken into? They talk about what was stolen and
A mask, a knife, and some rope.
some kids did it. So it's just like it's offhanded comments and things like that are not really off-putting, I feel like.
Right.
So sure, people can say that it's nitpicking and you're explaining too much, but they kind of did that in the original film as well.
Yeah, a little bit, I would say too, but it definitely stands out a little bit more in this film because, like, when a lot of Sartain's dialogue is explanation in the first half. Especially when he's like, "Oh, I read up on everything on Laurie's show," and it's like, why would that matter in that moment?
I think just because of his weird obsession too, but it kind of shows his mental state as well. It shows that he's not being professional. He's not
obsessed with the case.
Yeah, he's obsessed with the case. It shows that he's not well.
He's definitely a student of Loomis's. He's just the opposite end of Loomis,
Yes.
like we were talking about. Loomis becomes unhealthily obsessed as a psychiatrist in a way of wanting to save people, whereas Sartain just wants to see Michael do his thing and understand him more.
Yeah.
Good contradiction there, though, because you don't want to feel like you're replacing Donald Pleasance, Dr. Loomis, because you can't. So you don't even try, and so that I didn't mind it too much. Sartain's definitely the weakest character in the film for me, which of course him getting killed off, not that big a deal. But yeah, overall, I mean, of course there are a couple scenes, as I watch it a bunch of times, like I was telling you, like that scene in the backyard where Allison's running through Laurie's backyard or the forest, and she gets spooked by the mannequins, and at the last shot it looks like Michael for some reason, like she's hallucinating. I can understand that, but it's so brief, and I had to watch it so many times to understand what that scene was trying to say. And I'm a big fan, so I'm going to go into some deleted scenes here that aren't really necessarily canon, but there are some deleted scenes in the film that I thought were much better than some of the things in the film. And I'm saying that as someone who loves 2018 dearly. I went and saw it 4 or 5 times in the theaters. I love this movie, but there are some things that I'm like, why did you delete this and not this? Or why didn't you keep this, but you kept this? And they kind of do that. David Gordon Green does that throughout this trilogy. He kind of does it completely with Halloween Ends, the whole fucking thing, but we'll get to that.
I think they just had too much time to play with it. They had too much time on their hands.
But, and I don't think it was originally planned to be a trilogy, so I think it was kind of sprung on them. But nonetheless, he does that a couple times, and we'll talk a little bit more about his choices in Kills too, but overall, he's a good cinematographer. He has good lighting, good shots. He has good command of the actors. Him and I can't remember his co-writer off the top of my head at this moment, but they were fans of Halloween. They wanted to make their own Halloween film. They pitched an idea that got the Accords and Blumhouse interested. So at the end of the day, you can't criticize them too much because they got interest from some big names in horror. So, but overall, I mean, this is just a fun movie. It's well crafted. Oh, I'd be amiss if I weren't to talk about effects, of course, because if we're being honest, Christopher Nelson and his makeup team crafted the best mask we have seen since the original.
Yes.
The closest
100% agree.
to the original we've ever seen from scratch. They studied the movie obsessively, trying to make their own sculpt of this mask to make it look as closely as they could and then age it. Now, of course, everyone's been open and honest on the film. That's not how masks actually look when they age. We all know that. Well, anyone who's a collector and knows latex knows that. But it still looks fantastic. The hair looks fantastic. It feels like Michael. And of course, I almost forgot to talk about James Jude Courtney, the man who plays Michael Myers in this trilogy. Excellent job.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Probably the second best. I mean, you could argue he's probably a better Michael than maybe even Nick Castle. Some fans do. Even though Nick Castle was the first one. I personally still put Nick Castle above James Jude Courtney, but James Jude Courtney's really close.
Yeah. I would have to say yes. This movie definitely is my second favorite Halloween movie of all time. And it's just, there's no comparison. The love and care that they put into this film and making sure to just give the first one a good sequel, basically. They wanted to pay homage to the first one. They wanted it to be for the fans, and I feel like they did a really good job.
Yes, and, you know, getting everyone on board. I mean, you know, I can only imagine how much money you either have to throw a lot of money at Jamie Lee Curtis to do another Halloween film, or you have to have a really, really good plot and a really good cast and a really good idea to get her signed on for another Halloween movie, because she was also in her past she didn't want to be typecast. She didn't want to be stuck in horror, as many actors don't want to. So, which is understandable. But you know, you have to have either a really good idea or a lot of money to get Jamie Lee back into Halloween. Not even just Jamie Lee, but we'd be amiss if we didn't talk about John Carpenter coming back to score the film, because he did the music.
So good.
Yep, with his son and his godson, I think. John Carpenter, Cody Carpenter, and Daniel Davies. They will go on to score the rest of this trilogy. They did the music for all three films. And by God, thank God they did. Because now I have 4 Halloween albums I can listen to on repeat instead of just one. But, yeah, the score, it's the Halloween theme, but it's revamped with the new technology. You have new bass. It makes you feel something. They can play around with it. That thing they did when Michael's chasing Allison through the streets and they run the violin string through the guitar to make that noise. Oh my God, what are you talking about? And then, of course, The Shape Burns, my favorite piece on that album. It's amazing. So,
and they really did set it up where they could have ended at this movie.
Yes. And I think maybe we can do a separate video kind of talking about our feelings on the trilogy as a whole. I think that's a solid video we could do. Yeah. Once we wrap everything up. But just for this film, you know, I don't have a lot of complaints. Again, some of the things I didn't like were some scene choices
just
over some of the
things.
nitpicky things.
Yeah. It's not like anything that like ruins the movie as a whole. It all fits really well together. And sure, the scene with Allison like running through the woods and the mannequins really didn't need to be there. It didn't really take away from the movie. You were still feeling the suspense from Michael in the house and Laurie trying to find him.
Right. And they don't sit with it too long, which is good, right? Yeah. Same with like Sartain wearing the mask. You're like, what are they doing? I remember when I first watched it in the theaters, I was like, okay, did they really kill Michael Myers? Now is the rest of this movie going to be this doctor and his mask? Like, I was like, that's what I was thinking in the movie theater. I was like, where are we going with this? I don't like this all of a sudden. I'm glad they didn't go down that route. I'm glad that Michael was still alive, even though he got run over by a car.
Yeah, I was sad I didn't see this in theaters. I feel like a lot of people didn't because they weren't expecting it to be as big as it was.
I mean, you say that, but it also still has the record for box office as a slasher movie.
I bet if we look, though, it wasn't the first weekend. I bet people went the first weekend and were like, hey, you gotta go see this Halloween film. This is a good... Kind of like the Dark Knight. How the first weekend of the Dark Knight, like, it didn't do very well. I mean, like, average, you know, movie in theaters.
It's a Batman movie.
It's a Batman movie, so it's gonna do well. It's gonna do okay. But as soon as the first weekend happened, then everyone's like, you have to see this movie. Mm-hmm. And so then the numbers skyrocketed.
The same with John Wick.
Yeah.
No one had any idea what John Wick was going to be, and then you come out of the theaters and you're like, look, John Wick.
Well, you gotta see it.
Yeah. And so, you know, I think that it did benefit from that, but, you know, people did go see it.
Yeah,
whether it was word of mouth or, you know, but it did set records, which is also why, like, as Halloween fans, we love that. It set records for slasher films in the box office. Made horror really big. Halloween 2018 and It from 2017.
Oh, It was so good.
Without, guys, horror fans, listen to me. Without these two films, recently, I don't know if horror gets as much love as it does right now. I mean, it had a boom after that. 2022 was one of the best years for horror we've seen in a long time. Just how many releases, let alone quality releases, between things like Smile and Barbarian and
The
all
Black
those.
Phone. I like
The Black Phone. I mean, all those movies. Scream came back. I mean, all those films came back in 2022. We had the biggest boom in horror since
and Candyman.
the 80s, probably. And Candyman. I mean, so, whether you like it or not, I think this movie and
really,
it
peaked. Yeah.
had a lot to do with the boom we're seeing right now in horror right now. And I will always thank this movie for that. So, yeah, again, negatives? It's barely any. Again, some dialogue, sure. And then maybe a couple scenes that I was like, after looking at the deleted scenes a few times, I was like, why wouldn't we keep that scene in here? I think that's a better choice, but overall, a wonderful film.
Yeah. I like the way it ended, and also just the panning, like you said, the panning to the knife at the end when they're in the truck. I thought that's a really good scene.
Oh, and I forgot about the homage to Michael coming from the dark in the original film behind Laurie, and then Laurie coming from behind Michael in the dark with the spotlight shine, like the old school lighting. That was really good. And then, of course, Laurie disappearing after she gets flipped over, like that Michael disappeared in the lawn.
So good. Yeah.
That's a good homage.
They did a lot of flips because
Yes.
Laurie also was standing outside the high school, the way Michael was.
Oh yeah, when Fate.
Yep, Fate.
Fate. We're talking about Fate again in school.
It's just the homages are endless. We could probably literally just make a whole video about all the homages and like
things you missed or could have missed, the small things, all kinds of stuff. I think I'm ready to give it a rating.
Yeah, you ready?
I will give this a 4.5 tombstones out of 5.
I give it a 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5?
I'm sorry, but I mean, like, it's the closest to the original I think we're ever gonna get. But I have really no complaints. I like am giddy every time we watch this one because I know I'm gonna have a good time watching it. Like you said, time flies when we're watching this movie.
Yeah, I mean, how many times were we like, man, we're already in the third act?
Yeah.
Like, we just started the movie.
And also, I feel like it's because of the extension, like Halloween Kills. I feel like almost they're like one movie. So I'm like, oh, we're watching Halloween 2018, so then Kills is right after. So
right. A lot like Halloween 2 and Halloween 78.
Yeah.
They tried to make it seem seamless, and I think they did a pretty good job with that too back then in the 80s. But, yeah, I mean, you heard it here from us, guys. That's review for Halloween 2018. It's my favorite sequel. I go back and forth with that one and Kills, because Kills is Michael's movie.
It is Michael's movie.
And I like Michael Myers, so I go back and forth with 2018 and Kills, but
you definitely see him more in Kills.
Yes, you see him more. He's definitely just like it's his film. Like, this is Laurie's film, then Kills is Michael's film, and then we'll get to whatever happened with Ends. But yes, until next time, stay creepy, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment down below. What do you think of Halloween 2018? Are you a big Michael Myers fan? Or are you not a big Michael Myers fan? Are you tired of Michael Myers being in the movie theater? Or are you not tired of Michael Myers being in the movie theater?
Comment your favorite scary movie.
Yes, comment down below your favorite scary movie. We're getting close to finishing off this trilogy finally, and we got some surprises lined up for you guys that aren't Halloween related, surprisingly. So,
yes.
Until then, see you guys next time. Thank you so much.